Hello everyone. So as some of you may know, I have a second YouTube channel, bnsf7562, which was created about 7.5 years ago, but I only really started uploading videos onto that channel in October of 2011. But today I wanted to talk to you about why I chose that particular name for that channel. Okay, so first let me explain the combination of letters and numbers. First we have the letters, BNSF. BNSF is the initialism for a railroad, Burlington Northern Santa Fe. You may remember that I used this initialism in my first Wrong Acronyms video back last summer. So BNSF is a Western railroad in North America that is headquartered in Fort Worth, Texas, and was the result of the merger between the Burlington Northern Railroad and the Atchison, Topeka, and Santa Fe Railroad on September 22nd, 1995. Since then, the railroad has become the second largest North American Class I railroad, only behind Union Pacific, and is one of the lead transporters of intermodal freight. You know, those truck trailers and truck containers that you see on the road and whatnot? Yeah, those things. And second, the numbers, 7562. So every piece of moving equipment, and I'm pretty sure just all property of any railroad, receives a number. Maintenance vehicles, freight cars, locomotives, they all receive their own individualized number. 7562 is the number of a BNSF locomotive, specifically a General Electric ES44DC. Here's the breakdown of those letters and numbers. ES stands for Evolution Series, which is GE's newest line of efficient locomotives. 44 is the abbreviation for the amount of horsepower that this locomotive has, 4,400. And DC stands for Direct Current, which is the way that the electricity moves through the locomotive that powers the traction motors to make the locomotive move. So now that you understand what BNSF 7562 means, I can now explain as to why I chose that for the channel. BNSF 7562 was the first railroad locomotive I was ever inside the cab. Specifically like the place where the crew sits when the train is moving. So now how did that happen? Well, coming up, it's going to be 10 years that this actually happened. It was July of 2007. My uncle and I were on a trip to Montana to look at trains. And one day we're driving along US Highway 2 in northern Montana, very close to Glacier National Park. And we see a train stopped right where it goes from 2 tracks to 1. They were waiting for a maintenance crew to finish working on the tracks so they could continue moving. So we parked the car, got out, and started walking down to take pictures of it because we noticed that the lead locomotive, the locomotive at the front of the train, was very new, or it looked very new. And it turns out it was very new. It was only about a month old. So as we're walking down, for some reason I had to go back to the car. I don't remember what it was, but as I'm walking back to the car, I noticed the door to the cab open and one of the crew members walked down and began talking to my uncle. Now initially I didn't think it was going to go over very well, just because that's the mentality that I have in this hobby. So I waited until the crew member went back up into the cab, then I started walking back down, and my uncle met me halfway, which is when he explained to me that the crew members had invited us up into the cab. Now the photos that I took of the interior of the cab are not that great. They're prints, they're 10 years old, so they're not going to reproduce very well, but here's some of what they look like. My uncle did get a photo of me leaning out of the one side of the window, but I don't know whatever happened to that picture, so I can't show that to you, unfortunately. After that, we talked to the crew for a little bit, and then they finally went back up into the cab and continued moving their train. Now, I know I didn't say it, but that locomotive in particular was BNSF 7562. And since then, I can only really recall one time that I've seen this locomotive again. It was in 2013 in Southern California. It was not leading the train, but I just happened to catch a glimpse of it. I haven't really shared this story a lot with other people, so I hope you found it interesting, and if you do watch my other channel, now you know why I picked the name that I did. I hope everyone has a great weekend. God bless, and I will see you all next week.